It is September the 17th. Somehow Billy Napier is still employed, but welcome back to another episode of the Walk-On Redshirts Podcast. If you're not doing so already, make sure to hit that follow button, subscribe, leave us a rate if you're a 5-star listener. Maybe you're a 4-star listener, as William likes to say. Maybe you're not a 5-star listener. Maybe you're a 4-star listener.
It's very easy to get bumped up. Hey, and if this is your first time listening, you're a 4-star guy. You're no longer 3-star. You know, you're starting to get some buzz around some Power 5 programs, Power 4 programs, excuse me. Power 5 might be back though in a couple of years, Jake. We don't have that on the list right now, but the Pac-12 coming back, getting announced in the middle of the night. How fitting that the Pac-12 gets announced that it's coming back around like 2 a.m. in the morning Eastern time. I mean,
that's right on. That's right on par. Announcing that they're bringing 4 schools back. The best part is that they announced their 4 schools that are coming. They're all 6 have the last word state, but only 3 of them are actually states. You've got Colorado State, Oregon State, Washington State. Then you've got Boise State, Fresno State, and San Diego State. So logically, you've got to, if you're going to go to 10, you've got to add San Jose State and Sam Houston State. And then you've also got to go with Texas State and New Mexico State.
Yep. And let's go Stanford State. They can add that to their name. Stanford
State and Cal State Berkeley. Cal State Berkeley.
That's right. This is perfect. What's another state school that's over there?
You're going to have to start getting over to North Dakota State. I bet you there's a Wyoming State. Idaho State's I bring over Idaho State.
If there's a Wyoming State, it is a technical college that might have 4 people that attend it, and they all learn how to braid lasso rope.
Colorado School of the Mines.
That would be a good one. You know, we've got something going over here.
Yeah. Pac-6. If you need help, if you need an advisor, you should call us up. We'll help you. We'll be on your advisory committee of who you should go after.
Yeah,
we've got no bias whatsoever.
They should get Coastal Carolina in there. Really, just if the ACC is the all coast conference, the Pac conference can be the Pan.
I mean, just put Florida conference. Atlantic in there and UConn, and the Pac whatever is good. Why not?
That would be disgusting. UConn. Could you imagine? It's October.
Can you imagine Stanford playing a conference game against Boston College?
Couldn't do it. No. I'll be there next week when they play Clemson in a conference game. So I was about to say, could you imagine October 16th, UConn's traveling to Washington State to win the division? It's just that would be beautiful. That would just be beautiful. And it's not basketball, folks.
Let's get back over to Billy Napier. Somehow right now he still has a job. Sunday morning, the board calls an emergency meeting. I was tagged in a tweet about 9:30 in the morning saying at Walk-On Redshirts, send the tweet. And it was from a Penn State fan. So logically it was me saying, is James Franklin going to take the Florida job? Because if you're new here, every time a job opens, I post, is James Franklin interested in this job? Because the media makes James Franklin sound like a candidate for every job of the last 5 years. So I've just leaned in, and a couple of years ago, I actually made a post about why James Franklin would be a fit for every job opening, and it included jobs like Georgia State.
Could you imagine Billy Napier wakes up this morning, he puts on his little sockies, his little booties, and he walks downstairs, gives his wife a little peck on the kiss, and pours he's got Folgers. He's a Folgers guy. Drinks some Folgers in his cup, sits down, pops up in the newspaper, and sees that there's odds on who's going to be the next Florida head coach that are already being released while he's still employed. What is that equivalent to? That has to be like seeing that your wife has a Tinder. It's like, this is what I want to do.
Not only does she have a Tinder, you're sitting at dinner and she's swiping in front of you.
Yeah, with it on
just
a screen.
Wants to see what the options are.
Yeah,
like very actively being like, we're married, but like I'm curious. Like I'm curious what else is out there. Can you do better than the guys on Tinder?
Just know if I can do better, you're gone. That's literally what's happening right now. Like that.
If these guys hit me with a great pickup line, sorry, Billy, get your bags, get your slippers, get your robe, and you're out.
Take your booties and your little Folgers cup. Yeah, get on out of here. I feel bad for Billy Napier. I feel bad for Billy Napier because out of all coaches like who are heels and like who people would relish in this happening to, I don't mind Billy Napier. Now, obviously, I have some bias. He's got some Clemson ties, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. I don't want to hear it. But what does he do to make people mad?
I mean, he loses.
Yeah, I guess if you're a Florida fan and watching his face after the game, that might make you mad. Yeah, anytime you lose, someone's face becomes just deplorable.
I mean, I know this is a college football podcast, but watching Nick Sirianni every single time, he always looks confused on the sidelines. Like, doesn't matter what happens. It could be an 8-yard gain. It could be a touchdown. It could be an interception. He gives the same face of like, why did that happen?
Is Nick Billy Napier of the NFL?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, I think we all knew before going into the season, we all thought Billy Napier was not going to last. I mean, they had an absolute gauntlet of a schedule. They were rated by they lost a bunch of guys to the transfer portal. They brought in a couple, but their recruiting class really started to fumble down the stretch. They had like a bunch of 5-star guys. They only ended up signing 2 of them. One of them is DJ Lagway. They start Graham Mertz. DJ Lagway comes in against Texas A&M. But, this back end of the schedule is still Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss. Florida State was way more intimidating than at the beginning of the year. Now, Florida State might as well be a very, very chaotic pillow fight.
Could you imagine being named William and being on a podcast and having Florida be your dark horse team and saying that Billy Napier is going to save his job? Could you imagine? That would be insane if that happened. There's no way.
That nobody's ever said that before.
Don't search walk-on teams and see who William picked. Just don't do that. And speaking of Florida State, I thought I was bold going out in the beginning of the season and saying that Florida State would be lucky to win 8, which I'm still kind of right. They would be very, very lucky to win 8. But good Lord. I mean, I thought they were being overrated at the beginning of the season, Jake. I didn't think they were being overrated to this nth of a degree. They're just bad. They're flat out bad. The defense showed up. The defense played pretty good against Memphis. I mean, I have to hand it to them, but the offensive line, they need to be put on that milk carton that you talked about because they are missing. I think they had 65 yards rushing this year. This game, they have not eclipsed 100 yards yet, and they've played Memphis, they've played Boston College, and they've played Georgia Tech. They've not eclipsed 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, I'm very concerned for Florida State. I put this out today asking how many games will they win before the end of October. So let's play this game real quick. So they're obviously 0-3 right now.
Okay.
They have 5 games before the end of October.
Yep. They lose this weekend.
They play this weekend against Cal.
That's a loss.
Cal is better than people think. This is not Cal that's a 4-win team, 5-win team. Cal is already 3-0. Cal is going to run the ball.
This is not your father's Cal. This is your great-grandfather's Cal.
I mean, Cal beat Auburn earlier this year on the road in Auburn, so they're not scared to go into Tallahassee. Also, Florida State fans, I have a feeling it's going to be a light attendance this weekend because you're 0-3. You're going to show your displeasure. I cannot imagine this is going to be a full-on sellout.
We might see the shirtless professor back in the stands reading the book. I don't know if you remember the famous meme from when Clemson just thumped him in Tallahassee. He might make a comeback.
So then they play on the road at SMU. That's a coin flip. To me, this is a coin flip. I could easily see them losing this game. My question is DJU still the starter at this point? Like, if they lose to Cal, at some point you've got to make a change at quarterback. DJU is not doing well.
Wait till October 5th, please.
Clemson at home. I think Clemson throttles them. I don't think this is going to be close at all. I don't think Florida State's going to be able to move the ball on Clemson.
I hope you're right. And I hope DJU gets to start that game. Just for, I don't know why I hope that. I just kind of
for the storyline.
Yeah, the storyline.
Then
I still have them winless.
They could be 0-6 at that point. We'll say 1-5. Say they beat SMU. Okay. If they beat SMU, then they play at Duke.
That's winnable.
I think that's winnable. Duke is not going to be an easy game, though.
No.
I mean, they lost to Boston College and Georgia Tech right out the chute. I know those two teams are better than what they were projected. In Memphis, I know that people were considering to be a dark horse college football playoff team, but like, my goodness, like Florida State has just looked pathetic.
They really do. And like, I will say, Duke is very Florida State adjacent. Both teams lost their quarterback. Both teams, like the wide receivers, couldn't catch a cold butt naked in Alaska. They freaking suck. I mean, I feel bad for Malik Murphy because I feel like he has talent, and like the Duke wide receivers just can't get.
Duke has scored 26 points in all 3 games. Exactly 26 points.
Awful. That is awful.
That is a wild number. 26 is not like a traditional football number. Getting to 26 takes a lot of field goals, weird things happening, and somehow they've done it 3 straight games.
What's going to be a worse game to watch? Florida State Duke or Florida State Florida?
Oh, Florida State Florida is going to be absolutely terrible. Actually, I think this weekend's Florida versus Mississippi State is going to be the worst SEC game of the year.
Yeah. I mean, well, Vanderbilt's they decided they were getting too much hype. They said, hey, we got to tone this down a little bit. Let's go lose to Georgia State, and let's make sure people know that we are still Vanderbilt. But we're starting to get a little carried away, Jake.
Yeah. Let's talk about Tennessee. Tennessee said they're going to increase the ticket prices by 10% to pay players for their NIL. What do you think of this?
I think if you want to start paying players, you don't increase the ticket prices 10%. You take 10% off of what you're already charging, because you're already charging an arm and a leg for people to come to games. I mean, good God. And out of all schools, Tennessee, you have 100,000 plus capacity. You're going to start charging 10% more just to pay players? Like, I think it's hats off to them for being blatant and just saying, hey, this is what we're doing. At least they're being honest. But I just think it's greedy. I think it's sorry. Like, you're already asking us to send you money to the NIL. Now you're telling us if we want to attend, that is going to go to the NIL. It's like, man, like, I don't know, Jake. I don't care for it, but like, put it in perspective. If you sit in the upper deck and you're spending $40, now it's $44. I don't know. I think it's stupid.
I think one thing about this is they're striking while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
They have a good team. Could you imagine if Florida came out right now and said, we're going to add 10% onto your ticket prices for NIL? People would blatantly just not go to game.
Yeah.
They would blatantly not go to game. Tennessee's coming off of a 71-0 victory where the most crazy part of this weekend is them kicking an onside kick up 30 in the first quarter. They had 65 points in the first half, and they were kicking an onside kick up 30 points.
Yeah.
And they got it.
That's apparently. So I was talking to a big Tennessee fan, and apparently Josh Heupel gave their kicker the green light in any situation if he thinks that he can get the onside kick in that situation to call it. I don't know how the heck that works. I don't know when a head coach would ever say that to a kid either. Like, that is insane. I don't think that's even close to what happened. I think Josh Heupel wanted to get a live rep of what was going on. They're paying Kent State to be there. Might as well get your money's worth. Let's do it onside kick.
I get it. Like, I do get it. I think it's absolutely wild that they did it up 30 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's like Kent State sucks. They're getting absolutely trampled. And they're like, you know what? You know what'd be really good is if you didn't get the ball back again. Like, we'll just keep it.
Well, and like, hats off to Kent State too, to be like, you know what? You want to play like that? We're not going to have a running clock in the second half.
Yeah, we're going to make you run every play. So
make you do that again.
I think Tennessee, with this ticket increase, is striking while the iron's hot. Like, they obviously have a good year. They have a good team. People are very aware that Nico Iamaleava.
If you don't pay 10%, he is a leaving, is what his last name will be.
Yeah, I am a leaving is what his last name is. Pay my 10%, or I am a leaving in the transfer portal.
That's right. Wait, go back to Billy Napier.
I am a Lieva. That's how you say it.
There we go, Jake. Your midseason form. Go back to Billy Napier. Who do you think would actually take his job? I know this is kind of disrespectful, but
no, it's not. He's going to be. The board met and basically decided they're going to probably fire him.
So Sam Pittman takes over, right? Sam Pittman comes over from Arkansas and takes over, right?
I mean, he'll probably be looking for work this winter. So
yeah.
I
mean, who is an actual candidate?
Jamie Chadwell is the name that keeps getting brought up. I think that would be one. I think that is who their most likely candidate would be. Lane Kiffin's not going to Florida. Let's just put this out. Lane Kiffin is not leaving Ole Miss to go to Florida. Ole Miss is a significantly better job right now than Florida. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what people think. What Lane Kiffin's got, he's got to go rebuild Florida, or he's got Ole Miss where he's got basically a massive NIL budget. You look at who he brought in, and they're winning.
Spin zone, Jake. What do we say about James Franklin? Lane Kiffin,
you never
every
know.
time an SEC job opens up, his name gets thrown in the hat. The Auburn job, his name was in the hat for the Auburn job. I don't think it was in for Texas A&M, but it's always been in for Florida for some odd reason. And I think his name was in for Miami, which is not an SEC program yet. But maybe it's just his agent doing some dirty work, making him some extra bones.
What if Florida just brings back Urban Meyer?
I don't think they would do that. I don't think they would do that. I think after Swamp Kings, they wouldn't want to do that. But you got to think, I don't know.
Alex Golish is the head coach at USF. I think that's an intriguing name, depending on how the rest of the season plays out.
He's in state.
GJ, or is it GJ? Yeah, GJ Kinney, I believe, is the head coach at New Mexico State, or Texas State, my bad. Texas State. Barry Odom over at UNLV has SEC experience. He was head coach at Missouri for a little bit. I think that's another intriguing candidate. I don't know if they would look at that. They're going to want a big name. The problem is
Jimbo Fisher.
I would pay to watch that one.
I would love it.
I would love to watch that one happen. I don't know if they go for like a hot offensive coordinator, or I feel like they have to go offensive minded. The offense has been terrible, and you've got DJ Lagway, so you need an offensive minded guy to get in there.
Well, in this world, DJ Lagway would probably have to be a part of the decision making. I also don't think they dip into the G5 for their next head coach because of this Billy Napier experiment. I don't think
that's fair.
I think if they do go, I don't know who would be a hot candidate that would be leaving.
That's why Barry Odom somewhat makes sense to me, because Barry Odom coached at Missouri. He coached Missouri for a bunch of years. I mean, he was fine. He didn't do anything great, but he's hitting his stride at UNLV. I think that would be an intriguing candidate. I don't think that they're just look at, Memphis. I don't think they look at, any of the MAC schools. I mean, Jason Candle at Toledo has been brought up for tons of jobs and just never left. I don't think Florida is a job that he would want to leave for. I thought that he would get hired for the Michigan State job, and they obviously went with Jonathan Smith. I thought Jason Candle was like the absolute perfect fit at Michigan State. Alex Golish isn't, like I said, at USF. I mean, he's right there. He's not far down the road. I mean, I would actually love to see them hire Mike Norvell for no reason whatsoever.
That would be hilarious.
Absolutely hilarious.
What about Tim Tebow?
Goodness. The Lord and Savior, Tim Tebow, the savior of the program. First, he saved him as a quarterback. Next, he'll save him as a head coach.
That'd be a good movie.
Michigan opted to bench Davis Warren in favor of Alex Orji, the guy that we all thought was supposed to start before the year. And then Davis Warren played absolutely terrible against Arkansas State, throwing, I think, 3 interceptions. At one point, I saw his stat line was 11 and 14 for like 100 and some yards and 3 interceptions, because the joke was he completed every pass to someone. The ball never hit the ground.
Hey, that's talented. He doesn't discriminate.
Your team, my team, doesn't matter as long as someone catches it.
Davis, Oprah Winfrey, Warren.
I think we all thought this was coming at some point after watching Davis Warren, especially against Texas. He was just not good. And we all wondered why this hadn't happened yet, basically.
Yeah, I think they're just going to lean into their identity of let's just try to run the ball. But again, where's Waldo? Donovan Edwards had a couple touchdowns, but
he's got 150 yards on the season. We're 3 games in. This dude's averaging 50 yards a game.
Yeah.
Khalil Mullings is the better running back right now. If they're feeding the hot hand, Donovan Edwards is going to be running back 2 on his own team after he was supposed to be the lead back. Kind of a weird situation. Not sure what's going on there. Sherrod Moore also signed a contract, so good news for him.
Can't be fired.
He can be fired if there's more allegations that come out.
But they can't have anything to do with the old Connor Stein's thing.
Yeah. All right, so last week we also had Georgia playing Kentucky. Georgia struggled for that entire game. They never were able to pull away. Kentucky was leading at halftime. I want your take on this. I've seen a couple big accounts on Twitter at least say that Carson Beck is not a good quarterback, that he is a product of the system and the players around him. Is that the case, or why do you think Georgia struggled so bad against Kentucky, a team that scored 6 points against South Carolina the week prior?
Well, number one, Kentucky was not this. Kentucky's identity was not what the South Carolina game was. South Carolina had a pick 6 in that game, and they only had 3 drives that went over 20 yards. So you take that into account, how the heck they scored 31 points? It's turnovers. So against South Carolina, they turned the ball over a lot. Against Georgia, Carson Beck, I came into the season saying I didn't think he was elite. And I caught a lot of flack for that. And I still don't think he's elite. In the Clemson game, he missed a lot of he missed a lot of what seemed to be easy throws or touchdown throws where they could have beat Clemson worse. Same thing against Kentucky. There was a couple times he just missed his guy. They'd be wide open. So I don't know about product of his system, because I don't think Georgia's system is a system conducive of making propping the quarterback up. You look at Stetson Bennett. I don't think the way Stetson Bennett played, yes, he had great players around him. That's the number one thing. And number two, he was athletic. Carson Beck's not quite as athletic as Stetson Bennett. So I don't know. I don't think Carson Beck does anything that wows you. He is a good quarterback. He is a good game manager. He is someone who is not going to lose you any games. I just haven't seen him win one for anybody, or for Georgia. He has not gone. Like, the Kentucky game would have been a great game to take over and try to win it for them. But I think we need to give our flowers to Kentucky's defense, because, again, everyone wants to box score watch that Kentucky-South Carolina game, but the defense did its job in that game. The defense did not give up 31 points. Their offense put them in terrible, terrible positions. And this game, the one thing I really want to talk about is how passive and soft Mark Stoops freaking is.
Yes.
Number one, going into – first off, you're not beating Georgia kicking field goals. Trust me. Second off, going into the half, into the end of the first half, you're getting the ball back. There's 9 seconds on the clock. I think they had the ball on the 12-yard line, or maybe it was the 10. They were in the red zone. The average football play is about 6 or 7 seconds. Jake, is 6 or 7 seconds more or less than 9 seconds?
Carry the one. I think 6 or 7 is less than 9. If my math checks out.
Exactly right. Yep. Good job. We are a math podcast. So do a quick pass play. And I've been in a huddle where they say this. You have one read. If it's not there right when it's supposed to be there, throw it into the freaking grandstands. Okay? Because they didn't have any timeouts. You take it, you drop back, he's not there, throw it, kick the field goal. But you took a shot. You made a chance. They kick a field goal, don't even take a chance. You go into the second half, and the thing that everyone wants to talk about is that 4th and 8 punt when they're in Georgia territory with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Yes, that is extremely soft. You have Georgia on the ropes, and like Brock Vandagriff, hats off to him. Like, he wasn't throwing the ball well at all. Newsflash, he is not a good quarterback. However,
I was going to say, throwing the ball not well. He didn't throw the ball like he was terrible. He was terrible throwing the ball.
Very bad. I honestly, like, if Brock Vandagriff wasn't the quarterback in Kentucky, I think they might be 3-0 right now, if we're being honest. Like, I think they would be a much, much better team if they had a different quarterback. If they had Devin Leary, they might win that game. I don't know. But they put a lot of pressure on Georgia, and they were able to run all over them. So if you're like worried as a Georgia fan, I would be worried about my front seven, because they really just weren't able to handle that Kentucky front. So again, you asked about Carson Beck. I'm still not sold on him. Where's the game where he's just going to take over and establish himself as this surefire number one pick for next year? I haven't seen it, Jake. I really haven't. I haven't seen him. Like, you look at Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers has moments where you've seen him take over a game. You saw him in that Michigan game. Like, he just diced up that defense. You see him last year in the playoff. I mean, yes, they ended up losing to Washington, but it wasn't because of Quinn Ewers. He did miss some throws. So and I don't even say Quinn Ewers is quite elite yet. So, I don't know. This is a weak quarterback class, and I'm, again, sorry, Georgia fans. I just don't think he's elite. If anything, that should be a compliment because y'all are winning games without an elite quarterback.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from this game is Kentucky would have been in a much better situation if they had basically just not let Brock Vandagriff touch the ball ever.
Yeah.
Brock Vandagriff's last 2 games have been ugly. Now, I know he was playing Georgia, but he was 14 of 27 for 114 yards. Didn't turn the ball over, so you got to give him credit for that. Last game, he was 3 of 10 for 30 yards and an interception. There's nothing good to say about that last game.
Right. So
these 2 games, he was 17 of 37 his last 2 games for 144 yards. Not good. And I understand that, on 4th and 8, it's hard to justify going for that because of your quarterback being bad. But the problem I have with that is that whole series there. Because let me go back and pull up the plays because the plays that they ran are my biggest question mark because they get the ball.
They ran a screen.
So on first down, they run it for 2 yards. Second down, you pass it. And I forget the exact pass. I thought it was not downfield, but it was short of the stakes. So then you put your quarterback in a 3rd and long. I thought that should have basically been 4 run plays.
Yeah.
4 run plays, run it again. You were running it pretty well on your own side of the 50. You were not running it well when you crossed the 50. I believe their average yards per carry dropped by about 3 yards per carry once they crossed the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
But still, if you can get that to 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4, you open up all sorts of options. And again, you can run it one more time, get it down to 4th and 1, get it down to 4th and 2. And again, you're not asking Brock Vandagriff to throw the ball 6-7 yards down the field. You can run a tight end rub route. You can run a screen pass. You can run a lot of different things on a 4th and 1 than you can on a 4th and 8. My problem is the series that was leading right there. Not that they didn't go for it on 4th and 8, because I think Brock Vandagriff had no shot at making that at all. My problem was the play calls that led up to it.
Yeah, but you struck out swinging. You're in the World Series, because Kentucky's not going to the playoff. I mean, after that South Carolina game, you're in a big-time game in which you could establish yourself back into that conversation, and you strike out swinging. That's my problem. You just let the game happen. Now, again, to your point, Kentucky's offense was terrible. Do you want to put the ball in Grant Vandagriff's hand on 4th and 8? I wouldn't. You're right. The biggest issue is what they did before that. Because Brock Vandagriff was running the ball fairly well. I mean, he was adding – because every pass play he was having to roll out. But, yeah, I don't agree with being that passive in a game in which you had no business even being that close at that point in the game. I mean, it was a 1-point game. It was a 1-point game. And I don't know.
Let's jump into Colorado. I know you have a couple of takes about this. Shedeur Sanders doesn't shake hands with Colorado State's quarterback. Also, he takes his offensive line into the press conference, makes him awkwardly stand behind him. Just kind of a weird look right there. I know he's trying to probably make up for calling his offensive line terrible last week, but I'd love to hear your take on Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, love it. So, last week I talked about the L on his chest being loser, not leader, and I still agree with that. Now, to back him up a little bit, he says, you can't F with me to Colorado's quarterback when Colorado's quarterback tries to give him a handshake after the game. Not cool. Not cool at all. I do understand because Colorado State's quarterback was talking a lot of trash off season and then coming up to this game. I get it. However, Shedeur, you're playing PR right now. You have all this evidence, this massive resume of just being an arrogant, selfless human being. I was going to say a different word, but I'm not going to say it. and you have an opportunity to turn to turn the cheek and shake this dude's hand and be humble about it, but you can't. So now the narrative is increasing, and we're like, oh, this. Of course, he said that to somebody. I do understand if that was a one-off, Jake. If all the other stuff this season hadn't happened, if he hadn't done the whole blamed his offensive line, throw him under the bus, if he hadn't, done the whole wrist thing and talking trash to the Nebraska guys, whatever. If this was the only thing that's happened in his career that was not humble, I think people would be like, yeah, that Colorado State guy deserved that. He was talking all that trash. However, because of who Shedeur Sanders is at this point, because of his actions and his choices, this is why he's getting bashed and jerked across the coals. He deserves it. Now, bringing your offensive line to the press conference, it's a little too late, bud. You've been talking trash about them for over a year. You were talking trash about them when the college football game was released, and you did a live stream. You were talking trash about them blatantly to the public last week. And now you want to have them go stand behind you after you beat Colorado State. Whoop-de-freaking do. You beat Colorado State. You should have beat Colorado State. But you're going to have them stand behind you. If I was an offensive lineman, I'd be, nah, screw you, man. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm out here to play football. And if the press wants to talk to me, they can come grab me. I'm not going to pander. I'm not going to be some prop that stands behind you to make you look better. Screw that. It bothers me. Travis Hunter after the game talking about, I'm taking the offensive line wherever they want to go. Like, dude, you're reading a script. Everybody's reading a script now. What did Deion tell me to do? Have the offensive lineman stand behind me. Hey, offensive lineman, you want to come stand behind me in the press conference? This is what I'm doing now. All right. It's all scripted. It's all fake. It's all just a production, and it pisses. It's not what college football is. Yes, it's an entertainment business, but it's not what college football is. We need pageantry, we need tradition, and we need guys not being jacklegs every freaking Saturday.
I agree with everything you said. I don't really have much more to add. You went on a nice little tangent there.
Sorry.
Last thing from and I'll edit this part out.
Yep.
Arch Manning is suddenly faster than Tyreek Hill. I hate those stats. I hate when they put those stats out there. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say, yeah, Arch Manning definitely faster than Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, no, that was ridiculous. But he is fast. I will say that. That was interesting. Seeing a Manning run, the first Manning be fast since Archie back in freaking 1814 trench warfare. So that was nice seeing a Manning be able to run. So now we have the perfect quarterback who's going to start for 4 weeks until they get to the Georgia game. And I don't think any quarterback controversy happens. And I don't think Arch Manning's going to play into that. I think he's going to continue singing the song of "This is Quinn Ewers' team. I'm just playing until he's back. I'm going to enjoy my time." Yada yada yada. He's done a good job of that his entire time there. The only time that's come back to bite him in the butt is when he was like, "I'm not going to get on the cover. I'm not going to be on the cover." Or no, excuse me, I'm not going to opt into the game. That ended up creating more buzz than he probably anticipated. So I don't think anything bad comes of this. I think Texas fans are just happy because they have 2 quarterbacks instead of 1.
I agree. And it helps that he's getting this experience now rather than
absolutely
if Ewers were to get injured against, Georgia or Oklahoma, Arch Manning getting this experience playing when the game still matters is important.
Yeah. And you go back to last year, Quinn Ewers gets hurt and Malik Murphy steps in to start. And he didn't look that good. I think it was BYU they played, and he struggled. I think that game came down to the wire, if I remember correctly. So, you can't just – he obviously Arch Manning has prepared as if he was going to start every week because he really stepped into that offense, didn't miss a beat, which just tells you about that dude's character. He's going to be a future first-round number 1 overall draft pick. He's just a phenomenal guy.
All right, let's jump into this weekend. A couple big games here. Unlike last weekend, we only had one first ranked matchup, which we really didn't talk about, but Boston College and Missouri, kind of a boring game last week. Boston College gave them a run, but Missouri just kind of stayed out in front the whole second half. Boston College might be something. Missouri probably is something. we'll see more as they go along. But this weekend, we've got 3 ranked for matchups we're going to talk about. First one here, we've got the forever game time decision Cam Rising playing against Oklahoma State and the not as impressive Ollie Gordon this year.
Yeah. The lesser Ollie.
Yeah, lesser Ollie. And this is a top 15 matchup, but the way these two teams have played doesn't really feel like it should be a top 15 matchup.
Yeah, he's not kickflip Gordon the third. He's definitely Ollie. Very, very generic. Maybe even a Healy. But if Cam Rising plays, I think they dominate Oklahoma State. If Cam Rising doesn't, I think it's a disgusting, deplorable game. And I think it would be a really tough watch that I will be tuned all the way into. So you're going to have the tale of two cities on that one. Like, you don't know if you're going to get Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde because until the game time decision is made and you see Cam Rising step out there or you see Cam Rising not step out there. So this one is now let's give Oklahoma State some flowers. They have found a way to win in all these games. The Arkansas game, yes, you looked terrible, but you found a way to win. And you can't fault the team for winning, and I hope they don't apologize for winning, but Ollie Gordon's got to step up.
Utah has looked very different without Cam Rising. Now, Isaac Wilson, Zach Wilson's little brother, is the one who would start if Cam Rising cannot go. And Utah, they were in a dogfight with Utah State for the most part last week.
Yeah.
They ended up winning by 17, but they were only up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. They were actually only up 1 touchdown, and Utah State missed a field goal right around the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. Utah ends up scoring, goes down the field, scores quick, ends up winning by 17 points, but this game was significantly closer the whole time.
Yeah, well, look at Utah the Baylor game. Go ahead.
I was like, Utah was only up 17-14 and a half. Micah Bernard was a monster in this game for Utah. Rushes for 123 yards. Mike Mitchell goes 14 carries for 75 yards. So they were moving the ball on the ground pretty well. Oklahoma State, Alan Bowman is in his 85th year. I don't know if you saw the combined age of these two quarterbacks is 49 years old.
Yeah, 49, yeah. And then the Sunday night game was Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud, and their combined age is 44, and they're in the NFL. So that is insane.
Absolutely wild. To me, like you said, this game is going to come down to Cam Rising and him playing.
Mr. Game Time Decision. That'd be a great t-shirt. We need that.
Mr. Game Time Decision, yes. Because they're just completely different when they've got Cam Rising. When you look back at that Baylor game, they scored in the first half. Second half, they didn't score a single point.
Yeah, they were up 23-3, I believe, in the first half, and then he went.
Yeah,
I believe it was more less than that, but they scored 23 points and then went done. It's if he plays, I think they might beat Oklahoma State by double digits, but I don't know. I don't have a read on whether he plays or not. This is very similar to the last year when every week he was game time decision and ends up missing the entire season.
And both of these teams are still major question marks to me because I know Oklahoma State played Arkansas, but we don't believe Arkansas is supposed to be that good. And they go to overtime with Arkansas. Utah really hasn't played anybody. They played Baylor, Southern Utah, and Utah State.
Hey, I got an update, Jake.
Is Cam Rising expected? I thought he's expected to play, but that's still a game time decision to me.
He is going to be ready to go this week. Plan is for Cam Rising to start against Oklahoma State. This was as of 6 hours ago.
He's a game time decision. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But
Utah has not left the state of Utah for a game until now. They played at Utah State, and then they hosted Southern Utah and Baylor. So this is the first time they'll leave the state. They'll go to Stillwater to play Oklahoma State. Alan Bowman, to me, he's got to be efficient with the ball. He can't be making mistakes. He doesn't need to be an absolute stud, but Ollie Gordon has to step up and be a playmaker for them. Ollie Gordon last year was rushing for 200 yards in a game, was clearly the lead tailback, was doing everything in his power to help them and will them to victory. But this year, the last 2 games, he went for 49 and 41 yards.
Yeah.
Against Tulsa, you're averaging 2.4 yards per carry. Against Arkansas, 2.9 yards per carry. Like, this is not the Ollie Gordon we saw last year. I think that you'll see a little bit more of a breakout game from him, but Utah has a strong defense, so maybe he gets stuffed again.
Yeah, and they're opportunistic. So, I mean, if Alan Bowman turns the ball over, I think this ends up being a blowout. So, like I said, Cam Rising plays. It's not going to be – I think Utah handles them. But to go back to your Ollie Gordon point, he's the straw that stirs the drink. If he can't go and he can't average 5-6 yards a carry, the offense is just done. It's dead. And you put all the pressure on Alan Bowman, and that's not what he's good at. Alan Bowman is good at playmaking, and he's good at playing in third and manageable. He is not the guy you're going to put the team on his back and have him will the team to victory. He's just not going to. And in that Arkansas game, the moment that game flipped is when Ollie Gordon started to play more efficiently. He was catching the ball out of the backfield. He was running the ball more effectively, and then they started scoring points. So if you get him going, yeah, you're right. But what's Utah's rush defense rank? They played Baylor and they played Utah State. So I mean,
whatever it is, I guarantee it's strong. Last week they did allow 140 yards to Utah State.
But Utah State, that's all they do is run the ball.
Bryson Barnes had 223 yards passing.
Bryson Barnes.
So they had, farmer, yeah, that is pick farmer. They had almost 400 yards of offense, 385 total yards, 245 passing, 140 rushing. So their lead running back, Rajul Faison, was 19 carries, 115 yards, 6.1 yards per carry. Bryson Barnes added another 36 yards rushing. So, I mean, maybe Utah is a little bit more susceptible to allowing big plays in the rushing attack. Like we said, Alan Bowman is not going to beat them with his arm.
No.
Baylor, they struggled, but they did break a couple long runs. They only ran for 108 yards, but on 40 carries, 2.7 yards per carry.
Oof.
The other thing is Utah is just going to this is going to be a slow game. It's going to be this feels like it's going to be an old school Big Ten back and forth, like field possession. Like Jim Tressel would be proud of this game.
It should be a big noon kickoff.
Should 100% be a big noon kickoff. All right, let's move over to USC travels to Michigan this weekend. USC is 2-0, ranked number 11. Michigan is 2-1 with a loss to Texas, ranked 18th. To me, this game is a make or break for Michigan this year. They are going to host USC. They are currently a 6-point underdog, at least according to this book that I'm looking at right now. Miller Moss has played pretty darn well. And Michigan's making a change at quarterback where all of a sudden Alex Orji is going to be a starting quarterback. You talked about Donovan Edwards this year. Khalil Mullings is the top runner so far, top rusher with 270 yards. Michigan did not pull away from Arkansas State. If anything, they nearly let him back in the game where Arkansas State, I mean, they scored late. There was, not much time left in the game, but they make it 28-18. Not something that you really want to be happening where you only win by 10 points over Arkansas State.
Right.
Especially with them moving the ball down the field when you're up 28-3. I'm not confident in Michigan. Am I alone on this?
No, absolutely not. And coming into the season, we talked about this game in the Big Ten preview, which, by the way, talking about USC and a Big Ten preview with Michigan is just still, I'm not used to it. But USC is traveling to Ann Arbor, I believe. So that does help Michigan out. However, what we talked about in the preview was Michigan's strength was going to be their defense. And obviously that's true. USC's strength was going to be their offense. However, USC's defense has made some pretty big improvements. I mean, you started off in ground zero with Alex Grinch leading that defense last year. And they looked for – obviously, they beat LSU. But the thing that I liked the most in that LSU game is they only allowed 116 yards rushing. And the leading rusher is now out, for LSU. But that's a different game. But they only allowed 116 yards rushing against an SEC offensive line. So you go from a team that was like a joke on defense last year that couldn't stop a nosebleed to now you're only allowing 116 yards to perceivably one of the best offensive lines in the country. So I like my odds going with USC in this game. I think Miller Moss is going to have a really good game. I think they have too many weapons for Michigan to defend. With Branch and with Robinson, they have too much to handle, and you can go away from Will Johnson. So, Michigan has those guys on defense, and then USC is just going to have to probably live throwing the ball. I mean, because that defensive line, I think, is going to give USC some trouble, the Michigan defensive line. But you wear them out because if you can keep Michigan's offense from moving, which I think will be fairly easy, I think by the third quarter, USC starts to run away with it.
This is not an easy game for Alex Orji to make his first start.
No, absolutely not.
USC, yes, we know the jokes. I made plenty of them about Alex Grinch and their defense. This defense is significantly improved. USC pitched a shutout against Utah State. I know it's just Utah State, but
look what they just did to Utah.
Yeah, but they just scored on Utah. I can't tell you the last time USC pitched a shutout. I can't tell you the last time that Lincoln Riley pitched a shutout, because I don't think that they have done it since he has been the head coach at USC, at least. In looking for his last couple of years, the fewest amount of points he had allowed was 14. And that was 2 years ago against Washington State and Oregon State and Rice, multiple different occasions. Last year, they were absolutely pitiful, where the fewest points they allowed, they allowed 10 to Stanford last year. Stanford was terrible. 14 in Nevada. The fact that they got a shutout to me is monumental, because every defense wants to get a shutout.
First one since 2011.
Yeah. It's not easy to get a shutout. Doesn't matter how bad. Think how many bad teams USC has played in 15 years. They've had one since 2011.
Yeah.
This defense is improved. Miller Moss, I still believe, is like the right quarterback for Lincoln Riley's system. He's not going to be a top pick. He might end up working his way into the first round, but you don't look at Miller Moss and go, yep, Lincoln Riley's got a number 1 overall pick on his hands. Miller Moss, he gets the ball to the right guys. He gets it out. They've got a pretty good running game. Woody Marks is averaging 5.9 yards per carry. The problem is nobody can really seem to run on Michigan. Even those defensive tackles, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, are going to continue to stuff the middle. So USC will need to rely on their passing game, which, lucky for them, they're pretty darn good at. They're going to have to get their guys in space. Like you said, you can avoid Will Johnson. Will Johnson can shut down one side of the field or one player, but in reality, there's still enough playmakers that I think USC, 6 points is not a lot. I think USC is going to be around 14 to 17 points when we get into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like we said, and then Woody Marks has really, stepped up as a running back, but I don't think he makes a difference with how good that defensive line is. But they're not guarding Kyron Hudson, Zachariah Branch, and Deuce Robinson. I just don't think it happens.
I don't think so either. All right, last game that we're going to get into here before we get into our underdog picks and our walk-on weekly 10. Tennessee travels to Oklahoma. Or I forget if Oklahoma travels to Tennessee or which one's which.
They're going to Oklahoma.
They go to Oklahoma. Okay, there we go. Nico Iamaleava. I got it down.
Boy.
Has looked pretty good so far this year. He struggled a little bit against NC State, had 2 interceptions. Oklahoma did not look good against the
Houston or Tulane.
And Tulane, they did not win by a ton either. Tennessee also, their defense is significantly improved. Oklahoma has to find a way to score at least 20 points if they want to win this game. Oklahoma's got a strong defense, but I think Oklahoma has to get into the 20s to even have a chance, because I think Tennessee's offense is explosive enough to get into that upper 20s for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're going to see an Iamaleava freshman moment this weekend, because like you said, this is a Brent Venables coach defense. So we know we're going to see very good technique, very well sound, very well coached defense. So I think Nico is going to be exposed, and he's really going to have to rely on some of that talent around him. He's going to have to rely on Squirrel White and Chris Brazel out wide. So, but what, like you said, what does Tennessee do better this year? That's really made the biggest difference, and that's that defensive line. James Pierce, who has not had the best year so far, I think he lets loose. And Oklahoma's offensive line, who's struggled this year, is going to have a very difficult time moving the ball. So I think the thing you're going to look for in this game, Jake, is who turns the ball over the least. With this game being in Oklahoma, Josh Heupel actually had a pretty good funny joke. He said today that the Oklahoma crowd's going to be loud and rowdy, but when they're on offense, they're going to be quiet just for him. Since people forget that he was a Heisman runner-up quarterback from Oklahoma. So
he was the offensive coordinator at one point there too, and got fired by Bob Stoops.
Yep. So I think this game means a lot to him, obviously. So he's going to come out there for looking for blood, and I think Tennessee gets it. I think Tennessee ends up winning this game by double digits, but I don't think this is going to be a blowout like some people think. I think this game goes into the fourth quarter because of Nico struggling a little bit. I think we're going to see that Nico is human this weekend.
I think Oklahoma's defense is going to do their best to keep this as low scoring as possible.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's defense has continued to be strong. I mean, Brent Venables is a defensive minded guy. I think he's going to have a game plan to keep Nico in check for the most part.
Absolutely.
Will it last the whole game? I don't know. But Jackson Arnold has to play better. Jackson Arnold, they basically forced Dylan Gabriel out so Jackson Arnold could start. And Arnold has been okay at best.
Yeah.
Against Houston, only threw for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Last week against Tulane, 169, 62% completion, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Been sacked 9 times already this year. He's rushed the ball. Did rush the ball for almost 100 yards against Tulane and 2 touchdowns. So obviously he's using his legs. He's mobile. But to me, this game also, Jackson Arnold has to make plays. He cannot just be a game manager. Tennessee has a good defense as well. He has to be able to make plays. He has to be able to hit those 3rd and longs when they get put into it. He has to extend drives. If they can't extend drives, if he is going 4, 5, 6 plays and punting, and they're punting from their own side of the field,
that defense will be worn out.
You can't just wait for a long play. You can't wait for a shot play every so often to hit. You've got to be able to consistently move the ball. You can't score 21 points on 3 shot plays and only have 8 or 9 first downs. Other than that, you've got to be able to move the ball. They need 8, 9, 10 play drives, moving it down the field. Even if they end up with field goals, just points are going to be hard to come by.
Yeah,
they got to find a way to get points and wear down that Tennessee defense, because the Tennessee defense really hasn't been tested so far this year.
No, that's true. And you look at the best offensive they faced this year is NC State, and NC State looked abysmal against them. So is that because NC State's not good, or is that because Tennessee's defense is that great? So I think this is an identity game for both teams. This is Oklahoma's first SEC game as an SEC team, so first conference game for them. So it's going to be an interesting watch. I will definitely be tuned in at 7:30 watching this game. I mean, I'm got some people coming over. Going to be grilling. Going to have some bratwurst. Going to have some burgers. Going to be really enjoying sitting back in the man cave and watching this ball game. This is going to be a fun one. This is going to be an old-fashioned SEC game.
There you go. A good way. I did that last weekend. We smoked some wings. Had about 100 wings. Chicken and waffle seasoning. Highly recommend. Highly recommend delicious. Chicken and waffles on your wings. Sounds weird. Don't knock until you try it. All right, let's get into our underdog picks, because we love Underdog Fantasy, and it's the perfect way to take your college football fandom to the next level. Check out Underdog Fantasy. It's the easiest way to draft your perfect team or make pick'ems for all of the biggest games. We've been using Underdog for 2 years now. We love it. It's great. We're going to go 2-0 this week, confident. And actually, we're going to go 4-0. I'm calling our shot here. It's absolutely a game changer. Make sure Use promo code Walk-On. Claim your free pick plus your first time deposit up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Visit underdogfantasy.com, or you can find them in the App Store, Google Play, your Apple iPhone. Make sure you update to iOS 18 if you're that kind of person. You must be 18 or older to apply, or 18 or older to play, and terms will apply. Did you check on your picks last week? How'd you do last week?
I won last week. I had Jalen Milroe, and I'm forgetting the other guy I had. I had Jalen Milroe, and I had...
You had
Fafita. Yep. And he did that in garbage time. Both of them got it in garbage time. So very thankful. If you followed me, you won money. So I would follow me again. I'm a trendsetter.
So I'm checking my other one, and maybe you'll know the answer before I even look. But my first one was Tyler Van Dyke lower than 172 passing and rushing.
Got that one easily.
We had that one locked up by the end of the first quarter. My second one was Travis Hunter scoring.
And he did.
We went 4-0 last week. We're
sharp. We're sharp, Jake.
We went 4-0 last week. Now, I hope they didn't cancel that Tyler Van Dyke one, but we'll pretend that they didn't.
They better not have.
I didn't actually look. All right. Who are your two picks for this weekend?
All right. I'm going. This is going to be my Mike Vick week. I'm going to go with my quarterbacks with legs. That's legs if you pronounce it like a normal human being and not like I just did. I've got Haynes King running for higher than 30.5 rushing yards. So Georgia Tech's already played 4 games this year, and he's averaging 53 yards per game in games that they don't play VMI, because he didn't rush it once against VMI. And where he's not playing Georgia State, he's running for 63 yards a game, I think it was, or 65 yards a game. So I'm confident in this. They're playing Louisville at Louisville, and Louisville has a really good defensive line. But I think Georgia Tech's going to do what they do, and Haynes King is going to run the football. I think he ran 17 times against Florida State, and I think he ran 17 times against Syracuse, and I think he ran about 5 times against Florida State. So somewhere in the middle, I think you get about 6 or 7 rushes out of him. I think 30 yards is definitely accomplishable. The thing I'm worried about is him getting sacked. I don't think it happens because they don't throw the ball downfield very often. It's quick throws. The more things change, the more things stay the same, right, Jake? Georgia Tech is running a different offense, but they're still doing the same thing.
They're still finding a way to run the quarterback.
That's right. And then speaking of running quarterbacks, again, this is my Mike Vick week. I've got Avery Johnson running for higher than 55.5 rushing yards. And the reason I say this, so the first 2 games, Avery Johnson didn't run for much. Last week, they ran him 17 or 20 times. They ran him a lot. And the offense was clicking. I mean, they were humming. Yeah, he ran the ball 17 times against Arizona, and the offense scored the most points they have all year. So 55.5 rushing yards, if you run it 17 times, 15 times, if you have a lot of planned runs, schemed runs, I think that's very, very easy to get. So I've got my money on that one. I've already put it up on Twitter. You can click on that link and do my exact pick, or you can tail me and do lower and, use promo code Walk-On and get you some money, get you some cash. Take the lady out after getting a couple dollars.
Hey, we went
4-0 responsibly.
We're going to go 4-0 again this weekend. I love this first pick. Alex Orji, higher than 43.5 rushing yards. It's his first start. Sharon Moore is going to do what he can to get him comfortable. We know Alex Orji is not a true passing quarterback. Strong arm, not super accurate. First game here in a big game, they're going to use his legs. They're going to try to get him comfortable. They're going to have designed run plays for him. He is a natural scrambler. He's going to go higher than 43.5. I think he's actually going to be closer to that 60 to 70 yard range, because I think he's going to break one. I think he breaks a run for 20, 25 yards, makes that number way more manageable. So I love this line. My other one here is Iowa tight end. I love the Iowa lines. Don't ask me why. I keep picking Iowa. Iowa tight end Luke Lachey, higher than 21.5 receiving yards. He did not have a catch against Iowa State, but in games he does have catches, he has gone well over 21 yards. They play Minnesota this weekend. I think Iowa has started to find a little bit of an offensive identity. They're moving the ball. This is not the Brian Ferentz offense. Luke Lachey is a very good tight end. I think that he goes higher than 21.5 receiving yards. And, we go 4-0 right here. That's all we need.
I love it.
All right, let's jump into our Walk-On Weekly 10. Last week, you took 6 wins. I took just 4, unfortunately.
What's the update on the rankings?
Quite unfortunately. You are up 4 right now.
Oh.
Hey, there is still a long way to go. Long way to go.
That's right. I'm not going to be Shador. I'm going to be more of a DJ.
We got a long way to go. We got 10 games this week. A lot of close spreads this week. Only the first couple weeks we had some big spreads. Now we got a bunch of close games here. First one here, we got Rutgers going to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is a 3.5-point favorite.
It's disgusting, Jake. This game is at Virginia Tech, correct?
It is at Virginia Tech.
I think that's the difference in the game. I'm going Virginia Tech, and I'm not confident in that. Virginia Tech has been very bad this year. Who'd they play last weekend?
Old Dominion. They won by 20 last week.
Yeah, but that game went into the fourth quarter too. So just not. I'm going Virginia Tech.
See, this was both of my walk-on teams.
That's true.
I was really high on Virginia Tech. I was really, really high on Virginia Tech, and they have let me down. Rutgers has not let me down yet. Kyle Monangai is a beast. I'm going to take Rutgers. I think Rutgers wins this game. I think Virginia Tech gets a setback from this game. Game here where both of these teams desperately need a win. Kansas plays West Virginia. Both of them are 1-2. The loser of this game falls to 1-3, and season is put in panic mode where they may not even make a bowl game. West Virginia's a 2.5-point favorite at home against Kansas.
Would Lance Leipold be a candidate for the Florida job?
Lance Leipold's becoming the Matt Campbell and just being his name thrown for everything.
I love it. West Virginia has looked competent as a team. I don't think Kansas has. I think Jalen Daniels has been a shell of himself, and it's really, really hurt that football team. So I'm gonna have to go with Garrett Green in West Virginia, your other walk-on team, if I remember correctly. I just like that. It's in Morgantown. I like what West Virginia's been able to do this season more than I like what Kansas has done so far.
Yeah, Jalen Daniels has not been that great. His last 2 games, he's turned it over 6 times, 5 interceptions and 1 fumble. West Virginia has played some significantly more talented teams. Well, I would say Pitt, not significantly more talented, but Pitt is a very competent team, a difficult opponent. Penn State, very tough game. I'm going to take West Virginia. They're more battle tested. I think they're going to be up for this game. Stanford and Syracuse. Don't ask me why I put this game on here. I think Stanford, because I think Stanford's undefeated for no reason whatsoever. Syracuse, 3rd game of the season. Kyle McCord at home, 8.5-point favorites for the Orange. We get the Trees versus the Orange, the 2 best mascots.
That's right. So the first game is the walk-on game of the week. The second game is the get right game. Let's see who's still got a season left. The third game is the Lith game, because if you have a Lith thing, Stanford versus Syracuse is very tough to say. So in the Lith game, I'm taking Syracuse. I think the Loud House is going to be loud. Let me talk normally now. I think Syracuse is a really good football team, and we've seen that against Georgia Tech. We've seen that they're undefeated. So I think Stanford's going to expose. I think Syracuse is going to lay it on them.
Yeah, I'm in on Syracuse here too. I'm not sold on Stanford yet. I think Stanford could be better than people think, but I think Syracuse is just significantly better right now.
Yeah.
Friday night ranked matchup game. We didn't even actually talk about this one yet because I actually don't believe Illinois should be ranked, but here we are. Illinois, number 24, Illinois, and Brett Bielema will travel to Lincoln, play number 22, Nebraska. 8.5-point favorite for Nebraska.
Yeah, I've been riding the home team and the minus signs, and I'm not going to buck that trend here. I'm going Nebraska. I like Dylan Patrick Mahomes Raiola. I like what he does. I don't think Illinois is that good. I think the Kansas win is starting to get watered down, and I think we're going to see that, and they're going to get exposed a little bit down in Lincoln, Nebraska, and the Cornhuskers are going to they're going to shuck them up.
I think this is going to be a very defensive matchup. I don't think that this is going to be a blowout. I think this is one where Dylan Raiola probably makes a couple mistakes. Friday night games tend to get a little weird. I do think Nebraska wins this game. I think 8.5 points is a little too many. I think this game comes down to the end just because Luke Altmaier has a little bit more experience. And Dylan Raiola is still in his first year. I think this could be one where he makes a couple mistakes, a little costly mistakes, but they end up finding a way to win. I'll take Illinois to cover the spread here. That game we got here. We got Kansas State. This is a late game, by the way. This is like 10:30 at night. Kansas State is a 6.5 point favorite on the road at BYU.
So I am going to buck one trend on this game. I'm not going with the home team. I think Kansas State is going to start to hit their stride. I think they really see what that offense, like we alluded to earlier. I think they've seen what makes the offense work, and that's getting Avery Johnson, the ability to play make, get him out of the pocket, let him run the football. I think Kansas State covers this one. I think they demolish BYU. I'm not sold on BYU. I don't know why this spread's so close. I guess they're still punishing Kansas State for the Tulane game. So I think Kansas State handles this one pretty easily over in Utah.
Yeah, BYU at home. I think that's can get a little weird. I love the scenic view at BYU. If you ever see the pictures of their stadium, looks awesome. I'm sure it'll look awesome with the sunset. They beat up on a Wyoming team who's not very good. They beat SMU on the road, who we've kind of figured out SMU might not be all that. And Kansas State, I think, just is more talented. I'm going to go with Kansas State here as well. Next one we got here. NC State is going to absolutely dominate Clemson because they are 20.5 point favorites. Oh, my bad. Clemson is 20.5 point favorites over NC State at home. I think I know which way you're going to go with this. So should I just mark in NC State for you right now?
I don't know. 20.5 is a lot of points. I think the craziest thing about this game is once Grayson McCall was called out, the line moved from 16.5 to 20.5. And I do not think Grayson McCall is worth 4 points. That is insane. So they have a true freshman, 3-star true freshman. He was Jeremiah Smith's quarterback in high school. I'm forgetting his name, though. CJ Givens, I think his name is. Starting for NC State, his first ever start is going to be in Death Valley at a noon game. Clemson's coming off a bye week. Hopefully, a couple of the guys they had out when Peter Woods and Tyler Brown get healthy. We're able to take that bye week to get healthy. Clemson momentum coming off the 66-point game. NC State momentum coming off of struggling against La Tech, getting demolished by Tennessee, and struggling against Western Carolina. Rivalry game. Last time we'll play NC State in the Textile Bowl until 2028, which does not make me happy. I think Clemson comes out there, and I think Dabo starts his revenge or continues his revenge tour. I think Clemson dominates this one. I think they win by 24.
I think 24 is a little generous. I think Clemson actually wins closer by 30. I am not sold on NC State. I think Clemson got the ball rolling against App State. I think that they're going to hit their stride. NC State just has not looked good. The expectation of what they were going to be is not what they're living up to. I like Clemson. I like them by a lot. Georgia Tech will travel to Louisville, and Louisville is a 10.5 point favorite on Saturday.
All right, I'm bucking my other trend now, Jake. I'm going Georgia Tech, plus 10.5. That's a lot of points for this Georgia Tech team. And that's a lot of points. That's a lot of confidence in a Louisville team that hasn't been tested yet. They've played Jacksonville State, and they've played who was it week one? Austin Peay. Who was it?
I'm pulling it up as we speak, actually.
Georgia Tech's been battle tested. They've gone to another country and played Florida State, which we thought Florida State was better back then. They played against Syracuse in a really good football game on the road, and they've played it. And they've played a group of 5 team and handled business. So I think Georgia Tech handles business. I think Georgia Tech actually wins outright in this game. I think they beat Louisville.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with this spread. 10.5 feels like a lot. Vegas must be really in on Louisville, and I'm not quite in there yet. I mean, this is going to be the 5th game of the season. This is going to be the 5th game of the season for Georgia Tech already. They played a ton of games already because they played in week 0. They haven't had a bye week yet. They are tested. They're ready to go. I mean, this feels like you said, I wouldn't shock me if they win this game. And if they don't, I don't think they lose by more than 10.
Is there an injury that we don't know about? I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah,
why it's 10.5 spread.
I'm on Georgia Tech's page. Nothing's screaming to me that why a player is out or anything. It's just a weird line to me. Vegas must know something.
Yeah.
USC is a 5.5 point favorite against Michigan this weekend. I think we already both kind of divulged the way we're going to go on this one.
Listen, we should have known that when an orgy was being started, that a Trojan would have to be playing them. So do with that with what you may. I think USC handles this one. I like Miller Moss. I like the offense. I think they're in a better situation culturally now with Alex Grinch gone. And I think Michigan's in a lot of turmoil, and I think the past couple of years are catching up to them. So I think USC handles business in the big house, stuns them.
5.5 is not a lot of points. I think USC wins by 14 plus points. USC's offense can move the ball. I'm not confident in Michigan being able to move the ball consistently until I see it happen. Might happen this weekend, but as of right now, I haven't seen it. So we're going to go with USC. Utah is a 1.5 point favorite on the road at Oklahoma State. Who you like?
Cam Rising's going to play. Mr. Game Time decision. And I think this is an easy. I mean, it's a pick 'em right now, but I've got Utah. I think Utah handles business. I think when Cam Rising plays, they spank them. So sticking with it. Let's go Utes.
I'm actually going to take Oklahoma State here. Cam Rising, his injuries just have not. You don't know what you're going to get out of Cam Rising, and is he going to be fully healthy? You know, they say that he's going to be healthy. They say he's going to play. I've heard this story before. I've been burned by it before. I'm not going to believe it until Cam Rising is basically told, until he's playing on the field. And I don't care what I'm told. Until he steps out there on the field, I'm not believing it. And if he's not playing, I don't believe they're winning. So right now I'm going to take Oklahoma State. I'm not going to even put an asterisk there if Cam Rising starts. No, we're just going to take Oklahoma State. Final game here, we have Tennessee as a 6.5 point favorite on the road at Oklahoma.
I think Tennessee covers this one. 6.5 is right about where I had this game because of Iamaleva's youth and because of it being on the road. But I like Tennessee's overall team more than I like Oklahoma's overall team. You know, comparing offense to offense and then defense to defense. If the defenses are equal, I like Tennessee's offense more. Give me Tennessee, which this makes me feel disgusting only taking one plus sign, but you got to do what you got to do, you know?
I'm taking Oklahoma here, mainly because of the points. I don't think Oklahoma wins this game. I think this is a very close game. I think the defenses are going to step up. I don't know what the over-under is for this game, but I would take the under. I think both defenses are going to force a lot of punts. I think this is cliche. Whoever turns the ball over most is going to lose. I think Nico Iamaleava played in a big game against NC State, which ended up not being that big of a game. This is going to be a hostile atmosphere in Norman. I think this is going to be a close game. Jackson Arnold has to step up. He's going to have to make plays with his arms. So we'll see what happens, but I do think Tennessee wins the game, but Oklahoma covers.
Oh, we've got quite a few differences this week, Jake.
We've got 4 differences this week. So there's either a chance for you to really extend your lead,
or you to tie it,
or me to tie it, or at least get closer. So we'll see what happens here. that will do it for another episode of the Walk-On Redshirts podcast. If you're not doing so already, make sure to go follow us on social media. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere that you use social media. We probably are. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to hit that follow button and make sure to give us a rate. Give us a rate. It helps us out. Give us 5 stars, 4 stars. Just be honest. Tell us what you think. Just give us a rate on whatever platform you use, Apple, Spotify. We'd love to see you guys support us. And we will be back again next week. Is there anything else that you want to add before we jump off here, William?
No, if you listen all the way to the end, you'll normally hear me say something very awkward, very weird, very strange, because I just feel like I have to fill that void of quiet with something stupid. You're not going to get that this week. You're not going to get that this week, Jake. Also, I wanted to say, I forgot to say something for last week, so I do want to add something. If you listen, this is a little Easter egg for all you Clemson fans out there. If you 5-star listeners are going to get this. Clemson's offense finally showed up. It's week 2, right? And we've been waiting for this for 4 years. I equated watching that. Do you ever have the worst stomach cramps in the world? And then you find like you've been trying to hold it in. You're with your in-laws, you're with your girlfriend, you're with someone you're trying to impress, and you've been just holding in a fart the entire time. And you finally get to let it rip, and that sense of relief that you get, that was watching Clemson offense for the last 4 years, and then finally getting to see what they did against App State. I got to release a 4-year fart. So again, there's another T-shirt. I feel really good right now, and you see that this is what you get. You gave me the opportunity to talk when we should have been logging off, Jake. And now here I am saying something awkward, saying something weird. My hands are doing strange things. I don't know how to say goodbye to you people. I love to talk to you people, and Jake just needs to cut me off. He needs to cut me off.
All right, that'll do it for this week. We'll be back again next week. Go enjoy your college football weekend, everybody.